Most people move through the world half asleep. They see the smiles, the gestures, the polished surfaces. But a few, just a rare few, see beneath the masks. They notice the twitch at the corner of a mouth when someone insists they're fine. They hear the bitterness hidden in laughter. They sense the storm in a room before a word has been spoken. Carl Jung considered this not a gift, but a danger. He warned that seeing what others don't can dismantle your sense of belonging, your peace, even your very identity. Because to see clearly in a world addicted to illusions is to walk with a kind of curse. During his years in clinical practice, Jung observed certain individuals who possessed what he called differentiated perception. They weren't fortune tellers or mystics. They were people who could detect what others refused to notice. The unconscious motives driving behavior, the hidden fractures in relationships, the shadows lurking behind everyday life. These people weren't imagining things. Jung documented their observations, tested them, and confirmed their accuracy. What others dismissed as paranoia or oversensitivity turned out to be real, so real that it unsettled everyone around them. Jung concluded that the problem wasn't the perception itself, the problem was its effect. Those who saw too clearly often ended up isolated, not because they wanted to be alone, but because others couldn't bear the mirror they provided. To Jung, perception wasn't neutral. It had consequences. People who saw through facades often paid a steep psychological price. Exhaustion from absorbing emotions that weren't theirs. Alienation from friends and family who felt exposed. Loneliness from living in a reality most people refuse to acknowledge. He described it as being too conscious for survival. Society depends on shared illusions, unspoken agreements to overlook flaws, hypocrisies, and contradictions. The one who disrupts these illusions, even silently, threatens the glue that holds groups together, and so they are pushed out. Jung discovered an even darker consequence. Those with heightened perception often became targets of shadow projection. The shadow in Jungian psychology is everything about ourselves we deny, repress, or cannot face. When someone with sharp perception reflects that shadow back, most people don't say, "Ah, you're right, I must grow." Instead, they lash out. The truth teller becomes the scapegoat. The perceptive one becomes negative, dramatic, or too intense. They are accused of creating the very problems they are merely describing. Jung warned that this dynamic was nearly universal. When you see clearly, you will eventually be blamed for what you reveal. Through his work, Jung identified different expressions of this dangerous clarity. 1. The feeling intuitive. Those who absorb emotions like sponges. They can't walk into a room without carrying away the grief, anger, or joy of others. Their burden is empathy so raw it erases the boundary between self and other. 2. The thinking intuitive. Pattern seekers who can predict events long before they unfold. They see the trajectory of relationships, careers, even societies. Their burden is foresight without the power to intervene. 3. The sensation intuitive. Those who feel the body as a map of the psyche. They notice illness before symptoms, stress before confession. Their burden is carrying warnings no one wants to hear. 4. The pure intuitive. Those who sense everything at once. Overwhelmed by endless impressions, they struggle to filter or explain what they perceive. Their burden is drowning in awareness without structure. Each type carries a different wound, but all share the same danger: perception without integration. Jung described this as the problem of the superior function. A person's greatest strength, when unbalanced, becomes their greatest liability. To see what others miss is extraordinary, but without boundaries, it collapses into torment. The danger, Jung insisted, wasn't madness. It was isolation. The more clearly you see, the more invisible you become to those around you. Perhaps Jung's deepest warning was about participation mystique, a state where the self merges with the collective unconscious. Perceptive individuals, overwhelmed by what they absorb, begin to lose track of who they are. Their identity dissolves under the flood of other people's emotions and projections. This, Jung believed, was the real annihilation. Not social rejection, but the quiet erasure of the self. But Jung didn't stop at diagnosis. He also offered a path forward. For those cursed with extraordinary perception, there was a way to transform danger into strength. 1. Discrimination. Learning to ask, is this feeling mine? Or am I carrying someone else's shadow? 2. Shadow integration. Confronting your own darkness so that others' darkness doesn't consume you. 3. Conscious participation. Engaging with collective illusions carefully, not to destroy them, but to bring unconscious truths into light with compassion. The goal wasn't to see less, it was to see wisely. Jung often pointed to history for examples of both failure and success. Nietzsche saw too much but lacked integration. His insights burned like fire, consuming him from within. His perception became a weapon, and isolation devoured him. Meister Eckhart, the medieval mystic, also saw too much, but he clothed his insights in humility and compassion. His perception healed instead of isolating him. Jung himself nearly collapsed under the weight of his own visions during his confrontation with the unconscious. What saved him was not denying his perception, but learning to work with it consciously, through art, writing, and dialogue with the unconscious. For Jung, those who see what others don't are not mistakes of nature. They are advanced scouts of human consciousness. They sense truths before the collective is ready to bear them. Their suffering, he believed, points to the future. What is not brought to consciousness, Jung wrote, comes to us as fate. The perceptive individual lives that fate early, carrying collective shadows before the world admits they exist. If they integrate their perception, they become what Jung called carriers of culture. They prepare humanity for the next stage of awareness. The highest form of integration, Jung taught, is not to fight what you see, nor to drown in it. It is to hold perception lightly, like a lantern, to illuminate without blinding, to reveal without wounding, to see without losing yourself. The danger of seeing what others don't is real. It can isolate you, overwhelm you, even strip you of identity. But if you learn to integrate it, this very danger becomes medicine, for yourself and for the culture still stumbling in the dark. You are not cursed for seeing too much. You are called. The question is not, why do I see what others don't? The question is, what will I do with what I see? If this resonates, share in the comments. Do you recognize yourself as one who sees too deeply? And how have you carried that burden or transformed it? Subscribe for more explorations of Jung's insights into the hidden powers and dangers of the psyche.